ISO 2022, the most important financial infrastructure upgrade in 50 years, and almost nobody understands what it actually does. Not the hype, not the price predictions, the actual advantages that make this standard revolutionary. I'm going to show you 10 specific advantages with real data, with verified examples, and by the end, you will understand why every major financial institution on Earth was forced to adopt this, and why the coins built for this standard have structural advantages that cannot be replicated. Let me break down every single one. Advantage 1. Straight-through processing rates increase 25 to 30%. The most immediate benefit of ISO 2022 is automation, straight-through processing, STP. That means a payment goes from initiation to settlement with zero human intervention. No manual reviews, no investigations, no repairs, just automated validation and execution. Under the old MT message system, STP rates were around 60 to 70%. That means 30 to 40% of payments failed automated processing and required manual handling. With ISO 2022, institutions are seeing STP rates of 85 to 95%. That is a 25 to 30% improvement. Research from multiple banks confirms this. Why does this happen? Because ISO 2022 uses structured data. Every field has a specific purpose. The system knows what data goes where. Under MT messages, data was crammed into unstructured text fields. Systems had to guess what information meant. That created errors, ambiguity, rejections. Now, think about scale. Swift processes 47 million messages daily. If 30% required manual intervention, that is 14 million manual touches per day. At an average cost of $10 to $20 per manual intervention, that is $140 to $280 million in operational costs daily. Annually, over $50 billion. ISO 2022 reduces that by 25 to 30%. That is 10 to 15 billion in annual cost savings just from automation. That is Advantage 1. Advantage 2. Sanction screening false positives drop 25 to 30%. Every cross-border payment must be screened against sanctions lists. OFAC, European Union sanctions, UN sanctions. Thousands of entities and individuals that financial institutions cannot do business with. Under MT messages, sanction screening generated massive false positive rates. Why? Because data was unstructured. A name might be formatted differently. An address might be incomplete. The system could not definitively match or exclude. ISO 2022 provides structured identification fields, legal entity identifiers, consistent name formatting, complete address data with town and country codes mandatory. That structure allows sanction screening software to make accurate comparisons, and the results are dramatic. Institutions report 25 to 30% reductions in false positives. That means fewer legitimate payments getting blocked, fewer manual reviews by compliance teams, faster payment delivery. And this is not just operational efficiency, this is customer experience. When your legitimate payment gets flagged as suspicious and held for investigation, that is painful. You call the bank, they escalate, compliance reviews, takes days, sometimes weeks. ISO 2022 reduces that friction. Payments that should go through do go through automatically, and the ones that should be blocked get caught with higher accuracy, better compliance, better customer service. That is Advantage 2. Advantage 3. End-to-end data integrity maintained. Under MT messages, data got lost or truncated as payments moved through correspondent banks. Why? Because MT fields had character limits, 35 characters for a name, 4 lines of 35 characters for addresses. If your company name was longer, it got cut off. If remittance information was detailed, it got truncated. And each correspondent bank in the chain might handle truncation differently. Data degraded with each hop.
ISO 2022 solves this. Fields are designed to hold complete information, 140 characters for names, structured address fields with no arbitrary limits. And here's the critical part. Once data enters the ISO 2022 network, it stays intact, from originating bank through SWIFT through correspondent banks to beneficiary bank. No truncation, no loss. What the sender inputs is what the receiver gets. Exactly. This matters for reconciliation. Corporate treasurers receive inbound payments and need to match them to invoices. Under MT, remittance data was often incomplete. Treasurers had to manually investigate, call the bank, figure out which invoice this payment covers. Hours of work. With ISO 2022, full invoice references travel with the payment. Line item details, purchase order numbers, everything. Automated reconciliation. Treasury teams report 50 to 70% reduction in manual matching effort. That is massive productivity gain. Advantage 3. Advantage 4. Regulatory compliance data built in. Regulators want to know who is sending money and who is receiving it, not just account numbers, identities, ultimate debtor, ultimate creditor, purpose of payment, jurisdictional references. Under MT messages, this data was optional or crammed into unstructured fields, incomplete, inconsistent, hard to extract for regulatory reporting. ISO 2022 makes compliance data mandatory in dedicated fields, legal entity identifiers, LEIs. These are unique codes for companies. ISO 2022 requires LEIs where applicable. That allows regulators to track payments across borders, identify patterns, detect money laundering, combat terrorist financing. And it's not just identification. ISO 2022 includes purpose codes, standardized codes that indicate the nature of the payment. Is it a trade settlement, a loan repayment, a dividend distribution? That context helps compliance teams and regulators understand transaction intent. And the timeline matters. By end 2026, the majority of high-value payment flows globally will cover ISO 2022. That creates a global compliance infrastructure, consistent data across jurisdictions, easier cross-border regulatory cooperation, less fragmentation. This is not just about banks. This helps governments combat financial crime at scale. That regulatory support is why adoption is mandatory, not optional. Advantage 4. Advantage 5. Faster payment settlement times. When payments process automatically, they settle faster. MT messages often required hours of manual investigation. Payment sits in queue, compliance reviews, operations investigates missing data, correspondent banks exchange inquiry messages. All of that adds time, days sometimes. ISO 2022 payments with complete structured data, they move through the system in minutes, not hours, minutes. The Federal Reserve migrated Fedwire to ISO 2022 in July 2025. Fedwire settles over $4.7 trillion in wire transfers daily. Post-migration, settlement times improved. Fewer exceptions, fewer holds. Money moves faster. And when money moves faster, businesses have better cash flow. Treasury teams can optimize liquidity. Working capital efficiency improves. That has real economic value, estimated at billions annually across the global financial system. Advantage 5. Advantage 6. Enhanced remittance information for reconciliation. This is the advantage corporate treasurers care most about, remittance information. When you receive a payment, you need to know what it's for, which invoice, which contract, which service. Under MT, remittance data was limited, 140 characters total, spread across 4 lines. Not enough for detailed information, and if the payment went through multiple correspondent banks, data might get truncated further. ISO 2022 provides structured remittance fields, full invoice references, line item detail, payment context, and it travels with the payment, end to end, no truncation. Treasurers can automatically match incoming payments to open receivables in their ERP systems. No manual lookup, no phone calls. Automated reconciliation. Research shows this reduces reconciliation time by 50 to 70%. That is hours per day for high-volume businesses. Multiply that across thousands of companies. The productivity gain is enormous. Advantage 6. Advantage 7. Interoperability across payment systems. ISO 2022 is not just for SWIFT, it's the global standard. Target 2 in Europe, CHAPS in UK, Fedwire in US, FedNow for instant payments, all using ISO 2022. That creates interoperability. A payment initiated in the US using Fedwire can seamlessly flow to Target 2 in Europe. Same data structure, same fields. No translation needed, no data loss. This is critical for global commerce. Companies operate across borders. They need payment systems that talk to each other, not fragmented standards that require conversions at each step. ISO 2022 provides that common language. And it's not just traditional banks. Blockchain payment rails like XRP Ledger and Stellar are ISO compatible. That means a payment can move from traditional banking through blockchain settlement back to traditional banking, all using the same data standard. That level of interoperability has never existed before. Advantage 7. Advantage 8. Innovation enablement through data richness. When data is structured and rich, new services become possible. Under MT messages, innovation was limited by data constraints. You couldn't build sophisticated analytics on unstructured text fields. You couldn't automate complex workflows with incomplete data.
ISO 2022 unlocks innovation. Banks can now analyze payment patterns, understand customer needs, offer data-driven insights. Treasury management systems can provide real-time cash visibility, predict incoming payments based on structured remittance data, optimize liquidity automatically. Fraud detection systems can identify anomalies more accurately because they have complete transaction context, not just amounts and account numbers. Purpose codes, ultimate parties, full remittance details. That rich data enables machine learning, artificial intelligence, predictive analytics. None of that works well with unstructured data. ISO 2022 is the foundation for next-generation financial services. Advantage 8. Advantage 9. Reduced payment investigations and repairs. When payments fail, banks send investigation messages, MT-199, MT-299. Where is the money? Who is the beneficiary? What is this payment for? Back and forth, manual, slow, expensive. Under MT, investigation volumes were high because data was incomplete or ambiguous. ISO 2022 dramatically reduces investigations. Why? Because the data is complete from the start, structured, unambiguous. And when investigations do occur, they resolve faster. ISO 2022 has dedicated investigation messages, CAMPT 110 for inquiry, CAMPT 111 for response, structured format, clear questions, clear answers, not free text back and forth. This reduces investigation time from days to hours, and fewer investigations mean lower operational costs, better customer experience. Payments arrive when expected, no mysterious delays. Advantage 9. Advantage 10. Future-proof infrastructure for CBDCs and tokenization. This is the long-term advantage. ISO 2022 is not just for traditional payments. It is designed for digital currencies, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. When the Federal Reserve or European Central Bank or Bank of England launch CBDCs, they will use ISO 2022 messaging. The standard supports digital asset transfers, tokenized securities, programmable money, all compatible with the existing ISO infrastructure. And this is already happening. The DTCC filed a patent in March 2026. They are building infrastructure to tokenize U.S. securities, stocks, bonds, ETFs, using ISO 2022 compatible messaging. And they named XRP and XLM as the digital liquidity tokens for that system. That is not speculation. That is documented engineering. ISO 2022 creates the data layer for the tokenized financial system. The blockchains that are ISO compatible are positioned to capture that infrastructure demand. That is why XRP, XLM, and HBAR matter, not hype, structural advantage. Advantage 10. Why this matters for ISO 2022 coins. Now you understand the advantages. Let me connect them to XRP, XLM, and HBAR.
These coins were designed from the start to be ISO 2022 compatible, not retrofitted, built in. That means when banks adopt ISO messaging, these blockchains can process that data natively. No data loss, seamless integration between traditional finance and blockchain settlement. XRP and XLM are members of the ISO 2022 Registration Management Group. They help define how the standard applies to digital assets. Hedera is building enterprise-grade infrastructure with Fortune 500 governance. These are not random altcoins. These are purpose-built payment rails designed for the ISO standard. And as the advantages I just explained compound over the next 5 to 10 years, the demand for ISO-compatible blockchain infrastructure will grow, not shrink, grow. When straight-through processing rates improve by 25%, that is billions saved. When sanction screening improves, that is compliance confidence. When data integrity is maintained end-to-end, that is operational efficiency. When settlement is faster, that is better cash flow. All of these advantages create demand for infrastructure that supports them, and the coins built for ISO 2022 are that infrastructure. That is not speculation, that is positioning based on verifiable technical advantages. If this comprehensive breakdown made you understand that ISO 2022 is not just a messaging standard, but the foundation for modern financial infrastructure, smash that like button. These 10 advantages are why every bank on Earth was forced to adopt this, and why the coins built for this standard have structural advantages. Subscribe for content that explains the real technology behind crypto, not just hype. Drop a comment. Which advantage surprised you most? Did you understand straight-through processing before this, or sanction screening improvements? I want to know what clicked for people. And share this with someone who thinks ISO 2022 is just marketing hype. These 10 advantages are documented, verified, operational, and they change everything about how global payments work. I will see you in the next one.